Well, a running back that I was drafting in Quinshon Judkins is looking like he may be in a little bit of trouble and he may be getting suspended. So this will change boards. This is going to be something that we need to adjust to. And we will get into some drafts and we'll see exactly what's happening, where you have Dylan Sampson, where you have Jerome Ford, and most importantly, where you have Quinshon Judkins going, because Judkins is by far and away the most talented running back in this backfield. The issue is he just may not be on the field. So we're going to get in the Puppy 2. This is the tournament I'd recommend if you are wanting to practice some fantasy football drafts right now. $5 buy-in, 100K to first place. If you're looking at the advancement structure, you're going to have 2 out of the 12 teams you draft with advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. And there, week 15, you'll go up against 9 people if you're that scoring team. In week 16, you'll go up against another 9 people. For that scoring team there, you'll go into week 17 with a 375-person final, and that's how you get a $5 buy-in, equaling 100K to first, 75K to second, all the way down the line. We did have a member of the flock take down a puppy tournament a couple years back. Shout out Nick. I'm hoping that I can channel our inner Nick, and I'm hoping that we can take this down ourselves. But we are in. I had to enter into my phone because I am clearly not at the studio. Clearly we are on our crappy little setup. So this laptop doesn't even know my location. And Underdog needs to know your location if you're going to get in one of these drafts, to make sure that you're in a state that has it. And yes, I'm in Florida. So we should be good to go. We're in at pick 4. And pick 4, it's going to be easy in round 1. The difficulty is at pick 21, do we get a faller like Bowers, Ladd, or AJ Brown that we'd be very excited about? Or are we picking between the guys like Jonathan Taylor, Rashee Rice, maybe Bucky Irving? I know some people are a little bit less excited about Bucky now that you have the offensive line downgrade. We have CeeDee Lamb going at 3, so this is actually going to push down Justin Jefferson to us at 4. And I probably am going to opt to take Jefferson here. The issue is, specifically in round 2, if I had to take a guess of what player that I'm going to be on the lookout for, I would guess I'm taking Jonathan Taylor. So we will just get Jefferson, play it safe, and let us get a running back in round 2. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out with us. And one thing that I may need to think about as well when we make our early round decisions, because again, when you draft your round 1 pick, I know it maybe doesn't make much sense, but your number 1 thought shouldn't inherently be like, who's going to score more fantasy points between Justin Jefferson and Saquon Barkley. What I kind of think about in round 1, specifically with the players that I think are in the same tier, and I think Jefferson and Barkley can make an argument that they're in the same tier, is what am I going to be wanting to do in the middle rounds? Whenever I'm on the clock at pick 45, on the clock at pick 52, on the clock in the 6th, on the clock in the 7th, what position am I typically going to be wanting to draft there? And if you think that you map out the middle rounds wherever you're drafting, whether it's Underdog, ESPN, Sleeper, etc., if you think you are going to have running back values in the middle rounds, maybe it makes sense to take your wide receivers early. And vice versa, if you think you're going to have wide receiver value in the middle rounds, maybe it makes sense to take your running backs early. And now that we have the updated Quinshon Judkins report, where it looks like Judkins may be getting suspended because he was not too nice of a fellow, Judkins isn't going to be an exciting pick for me at 76. Caleb Johnson may get pushed up a bit. AJ Brown goes, so we're going to take Rashee Rice. I think if you're looking at the ADP trends, I'm not going to be surprised at all if Rashee Rice ends up being a middle to early 2nd round pick in a month, where Bucky Irving is kind of going in the opposite direction with the news of him losing his left tackle for the beginning of the season. But anyway, my entire point of this is, if you remove like Judkins as a viable running back there at the 6-7 turn, are we maybe a little more incentivized to go Barkley over Jefferson at that point? Just because of the 6-7 turn, we want to put ourselves in a position where we're taking wide receivers instead. So I don't know the answer to that question yet. So we need to get in some practice. I think that's a big thing that these $5 drafts are for, is y'all know I'm going to get into some $500 drafts. Y'all know that I'm going to take Josh Allen here. We're just going to reach and get our elite level quarterback. I'm going to be in some $500 best ball drafts. Obviously, the draft I care about the most, not even remotely close, is the Flock League draft, just my regular redraft league. And I kind of need to be practicing and making sure that I know what's up. So these $5 drafts on Underdog are kind of just perfect for that. But let me pull up the chat. Thank you for everybody hanging out with us. I'm sorry I'm not really able to pull your messages on the screen. Like I said, we're currently traveling. I know we made the joke that I snuck in and broke in and am hiding in the basement of the fantasy footballers. Of course, there's one person. Check the comment section. Surprise, surprise. Some people didn't realize it was a joke. They're safe. Don't worry. I'm actually in Florida visiting the fam, and we are on a compromised setup here. So not going to be able to bring up your chat messages. I can see them, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate you hanging out with me. Just can't show them on the screen. But anyway, of course, if you wanted to get into one of these drafts with us, I would say now's kind of the best time to get on Underdog. This is the most popular tournament by far. This is the Puppy 2. This is a $5 buy-in, $1 million prize pool. It's been open for like 3 or 4 days, and there have already been almost 90,000 teams drafted. Absolute crazy. This is the tournament I'd recommend if you're just trying to practice for your main redraft league. If you are just wanting to get in some extra action. Again, it's best ball, so there's no time commitment at all during the season. You're not going to be submitting your starting lineup every single week. That's going to be automatically done for you at the end of every week. And if you wanted to get in a draft with us, you can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the description, in the comment section. I don't even know if it's in the live chat right now in this setup. It's just the link that says join a draft with us here. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get my 2025 fantasy football rankings and draft guide cheat sheets, which I cannot wait for you to see. They're really going to help you in your draft. You're going to take them to your draft. That's what you want to do. And also, you'll get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Underdog's available in pretty much every state. I live in Texas. It's in Texas. I'm in Florida right now. It's in Florida. It's in New York. It's in California. It's in almost all. It's in pretty much all the big ones. But let's move this down. Amari and Hampton goes. Ted McMillan off the board as well. So Jalen Hurts, obviously less exciting of an option here in the 4th. When I go Josh Allen, I'm not taking Jalen Hurts. Now, I will take DK Metcalf. The reason being is usually at the 4-5 turn, I'm going with Devonta Smith and setting ourselves up with the ability to go Jalen Hurts in round 5. But here, Jalen Hurts already off the board. Also, we have Josh Allen. Y'all know I also like Xavier Worthy in this range. We do have Rashee Rice on this team. We could go Worthy, Rice, and then set up Mahomes later. But when we are already sitting with Josh Allen, I don't necessarily know if that's going to be our number one priority. So Devonta Smith off the board at pick 48. I think I have my plan A, B, C at this point. Jalen Waddle does indeed go at pick 49. Joe Burrow off at 50. Great for us. Obviously, there's no world in which I was considering Burrow. I'll give you all my plan A and my plan B. Sutton goes. Plan A, we will take Worthy. Very rarely are you going to see us with a 0 RB build, but this is one of those drafts. And this may be extra bad, and this is something that maybe we need to do a good job of avoiding going into the future. Because again, going right back to what we were talking about previously, in the past, we could kind of look at this and go, well, you know, at the 6-7 turn here, there are some exciting running backs like Quinshon Judkins, and now I'm not taking Judkins there. So maybe this is a setup where we need to just go, hey, we are taking Saquon Barkley ahead of Justin Jefferson now. We get the anchor running back, and then at that point, if we have Barkley, Rice, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy, and then Josh Allen at quarterback, we are super comfortable. We're not having to set up a prayer that a running back makes it to us at the 6-7 turn. Whereas now it's the flip side. Yeah, we have Jefferson, Rice, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy. Yeah, Underdog's a league where you start 3 wide receivers mandatory plus 1 flex. So technically all these wide receivers are in our starting lineup. Plus we have the elite quarterback. But still, it's going to be a very awkward spot if we don't have the running backs making it back to us. But let's see. And Jim says Judkins went at pick 91 in one of his drafts. So I did not draft yesterday. Obviously, we didn't stream. Like I said, I'm with the fam. I have a little brother who really wanted to go see the new Superman movie, so we went and saw that. And quick movie report. If you have a little kid, they'll probably love the new Superman movie. Like if you have like a 12-year-old, and of course they say some bad words, some bad guys get punched from Superman. So don't scream at me if you take your kid to the movie. It wasn't appropriate for him. Go on IMDb and read the little parental thing. But my take on it is a kid would probably love the movie. So if you have a kid, want to take him to Superman, probably a good idea. And by kid, I mean maybe young teenager. You do you. But if you're a grown adult and you're not the biggest superhero movie fan, it probably ain't for you. At least that's my take. If I've seen 2 movies over the past month, I've seen F1 and I've seen Superman. If you had the opportunity to only watch one, 100% choose F1. That's the move. But let me know if y'all have seen Superman. Let me know your opinion on it. We got Mason Arwood says terrible movie. Mike says solid 7.5 out of 10. And Jeff says he has seen Judkins go at pick 107. Ooh. So like I said, I mean, we're not considering Judkins at the 6-7 turn, but there will be a price where we are forced to look at him. Okay, let's see. Well, thank God we're going to get a running back here. Whether it's James Conner or Trevion Henderson, definitely makes me feel a little bit better about our decision to go with wide receivers the way that we did previously. I still think based off the way that this board's fallen, I probably need to switch to taking Barkley over Jefferson personally. We can go James Conner. Looking at the running backs that are going to be on the way back around, there's a good shot that like Caleb Johnson is somebody that we're seeing at 76. So if we're getting like the rookie and Caleb Johnson at 76, I would prefer pairing up with the old crusty dude and James Conner where you just have the projectable volume. All in all, I am underweight James Conner so far this year, but at pick 69 doesn't feel like the worst thing in the world. And great for us to see wide receivers off the board, right? When we have Jefferson, Rice, Metcalf, Xavier Worthy, taking a wide receiver here at 76 is not going to be plan A. I know it would be plan A for some people, just considering the fact that like Khalil Shakir would match up really nicely with Josh Allen. But here we need a running back no matter what. I can't take Quinshon Judkins. The only other running back really left in this range is going to be DeAndre Swift. Now, knowing that we ended up going with the old crusty veteran just with the raw volume projection, maybe I should have gone back and taken Trevion Henderson rather than James Conner in the last round. But regardless, we have Conner and DeAndre Swift. If you actually remember, this was my, I think, first 2 running backs drafted last year in the Flock League when, I guess in that draft, we kind of got hit with the 0 RB build. But now wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy. We have the elite quarterback with Josh Allen. And then we have James Conner, DeAndre Swift at RB. We're still 100% wanting to play catch up at running back. So wide receiver, Keon Coleman, who typically goes to the 8-9 turn, because we're so far ahead of the rest of the field at receiver, I probably wouldn't be looking at Keon in round 8. But if we did get Keon in round 9 to pair up with Josh Allen, it may be something that we would have to consider. But where did y'all's chats go? Okay, here they are. Okay, let's move this down. Brian Robinson going off the board of pick 82. Brian Robinson would have been a great pick for us at 93. I'd have been very excited about that. We got some people in the chat saying buy the dip on Judkins. Well, we'll see where Judkins ends up going. Judkins goes off the board at pick 84. The other running backs that were available, really just Aaron Jones. For me at this point, and keep in mind, I was drafting Quinshon Judkins before this. I wish I could just tell everybody like, oh, Judkins is going to be 100% A-okay. You don't need to be worried about anything. Just full steam ahead. But for me, I would be drafting Aaron Jones over Quinshon Judkins right now. Like if Judkins would have made it to us at the 8-9 turn, there, I think I'd have been more inclined. Like if Judkins made it to us at 93, I probably would have taken him. Like RB3, where hopefully we get some upside in the second half of the year. But if you're still having to take him over Aaron Jones, then I don't know if that's the right pick. Holy Lord says, Mason, why are you hesitant on Tyreek since he has so much upside? My guy, you must be new here. Before Johnny was traded, we planted our flag and we made Tyreek our most drafted round 3 wide receiver. I have a lot of Tyreek Hill. So one thing that will be interesting is if we do get Mahomes at 93, if we should just go ahead and take Mahomes, get the double stack with Rice and Worthy, and then call it a day at quarterback, which is exactly what I think we're going to do. You could go with the wide receiver in this range, but we will go with the pseudo-bully quarterback. Like I said, when we go with the quarterback in round 3 for Josh Allen, no part of me is ever looking at Jalen Hurts in round 4 or round 5. And again, it's maybe not the most ideal thing to be going with your second quarterback at the 8-9 turn when you decided to take a quarterback in round 3. But whenever we have the Rice-Worthy double stack and we can just go with the slim group of 2 quarterbacks and save ourselves another roster spot at another position, may not be the worst thing in the world. Obviously, it'd be something that you would never do in your regular redraft league and just exclusively in underdog play. Okay, so Phil decides to go with Jaden Higgins. We will take Jalen Warren. I know some people would be interested in taking Travis Kelce to pair him up with Mahomes, but we already have Worthy as well as Rashee Rice. And then at running back, we only have James Conner, DeAndre Swift. So we're still very much behind the 8 ball at running back. That's the position we're playing catch up on. And tight end's not going to be nearly as important as your running back points. So wide receiver, now we have Jefferson, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy. Quarterback, we have Josh Allen unstacked so far. We have Mahomes double stacked with Worthy and Rashee Rice. And then running back, we have James Conner, DeAndre Swift, and Jalen Warren. Okay. So let's move this. Sir Alexander says, Mason, do you think a Judkins suspension benefits players like Judy and Njoku? No, I do not. I think Judkins getting suspended, the only impact on the other players in the Browns offense would be Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford. Because right now the issue with Njoku and Jerry Judy is not, oh, there are too many good players in this offense where they're just not going to get enough looks. They're not going to get enough opportunities. It's the exact opposite problem. Like, the opportunities will be there. There's no competition for Jerry Judy or David Njoku, realistically. The issue is the Cleveland Browns project to score the fewest points in the NFL. Like, Quinshon Judkins getting suspended does not fix that problem for them. So, yeah, I would say that there is no impact, in my mind, positive or negative, on Judy and Njoku if Judkins gets suspended. I wouldn't move them at all in my rankings. Now, again, the other running backs, yes, you can, but that's a different story. So let's see where Dave goes. Hopefully he goes quarterback. He hasn't taken a quarterback yet. He goes Tyler Warren. Y'all know I love me some Tyler Warren here, but running back still by far and away the most important position for us. We're going to take Cam Scatterby. I actually like the fact that we get a rookie falling to us, knowing that we have James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, right? We have like all these veterans with stable production at the beginning portion of the season. Where we are lacking is some late season upside, which I think Cam Scatterby does give us access to some of that. And having him as my 4th running back, I think actually does make this running back room not good, but serviceable. And in general, y'all know I'm overweight Tyron Tracy, underweight Cam Scatterby, just because Scatterby used to go ahead of Tracy earlier in the offseason. I mean, we made the video calling Cam Scatterby one of the worst, I think, 6 running back selections previously. But I mean, what we've been saying all offseason is between Tracy and Scatterby, I'm just going to take the cheaper name. So let's see what SARS does. I'm going to take 6 running backs regardless, even if we grab our 5th running back by round 11. This will be a 6 RB team for me. Spears goes, I'll give you all plan A and plan B. Plan A is we just take the best player available in David Njoku. Plan B was we were going to go with Loveland. But we'll just go plan A. We'll go David Njoku, pick 124 as our tight end 1. Stupid safe projection, right? Like, we're not going to be too concerned about anything you can say with Njoku. But now wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Rice, Metcalf, Worthy. That's it. So we have the anchor wide receivers holding us down at the top. Quarterback, we have Josh Allen unstacked. We have Mahomes double stacked with Rice and Worthy. Running back, we have James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Cam Scatterbo. And then we have David Njoku at tight end. So obviously we went very wide receiver heavy early in this draft. I feel like we've done a decent job filling out the other positions later, where we haven't gone with the wide receiver since the 5th round, and our next pick is going to be in round 12. And great for us to see these quarterbacks going. Like if we would have been in a world where I pull up my options at 141 and Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud are both sitting there, I'd be very frustrated knowing that we went with 2 great quarterbacks early. Okay. But please, if you have not done so already, I would appreciate it if you go down there and hit that like button. I understand that we are not in the best setup here. I understand that maybe I shouldn't have taken Josh Allen in round 3. And also, every time you hit that like button, we do get an extra $10 deposited from your bank account into mine. But I know my demographic. I checked on YouTube previously. And it was, I think, 98% female between the ages of 56 and like 82. So I know y'all my sugar mamas. I know y'all going to take care of me, and I appreciate you for it. Okay. Hollywood Brown goes 38. I'm not necessarily jumping up and down with joy going, oh, Hollywood, we have Mahomes, Rice, and Worthy. Let's just go all in on the... Okay, we get plan A. Clearly, I know it looks like we're just clicking the top player according to ADP, but we need a tight end, and we have Josh Allen unstacked, and Dalton Kincaid's right there for us. So what else could we possibly do? Okay. Now, I like this team. I know people aren't, but going to, but I do. And I think we still take 3 tight ends. Like going tight end rounds 11 and 12. I like David Njoku and I like Kincaid, but I think we can afford the 3rd. Interesting to see Bryce Young go ahead of Michael Penix here. The big Q off the board at 145. Y'all know I would have been excited to grab him. Leggett goes 146. I got my plan A and I got my plan B. Neither involves a quarterback. I'll let you know. Tillman's plan A. Garindo's plan B. But we're hoping to get Tillman. Oh, Tillman goes. That's why I try not to tell you all my plan A, plan B before we go in. But we will take Garindo as our 5th running back. We're still going to walk away with 6 running backs on this team. With Garindo, top-level athlete. Running back with a decent little injury history in front of him. And we have seen that whoever the running back 1 is in that Kyle Shanahan offense, they will put up fantasy points. Now, my issue with Isaac Garindo is I don't know if he's guaranteed to be the RB2. If I look at the other running backs that go in the round ahead of him, like Rachaad White, I think has a much more stable projection on that Tampa Bay Buccaneers depth chart than Isaac Garindo does on the Niners. Okay. Yeah, see, we got an intense argument on Patrick Mahomes. It's tough to do this because we are on the traveling thing, but I'm going to do it anyway. F it. It's worth it. I know everybody in the chat wants to talk about Patrick Mahomes and how bad he's been over the past 2 years. But do y'all want to see something? Let's go ahead. Let's pull up the player comparison on the site. Let's get your boy Mahomes in it. And let's look at a very long sample. Let's look at 2022 through what? 2018. Let's look at 5 years. And during this 5-year period, Patrick Mahomes averaged 23.5 fantasy points per game and over 300 passing yards per game. For 5 years, Patrick Mahomes averaged over 300 passing yards per game. I know we had a 2-year sample where Patrick Mahomes had absolute garbage options in the passing game. His offensive coordinator changed. Blah, 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 blah. I get it. He's been horrible for 2 years. But to pretend that he doesn't have upside, like you would have to have the memory of a freaking fruit fly to say that. Plan A is going to be Joshua Palmer. In this range, you're just taking wide receivers that you hope score random touchdowns. And we have Josh Allen, so we will take Palmer. And let's move this over. And of course, I'm not saying the most likely outcome is Patrick Mahomes goes back to averaging 23.5 fantasy points per game, throwing the ball for over 300 passing yards per game. If I thought that was the most likely outcome, I would have Patrick Mahomes ranked up there with Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Josh Allen. But because Patrick Mahomes has had that 2-year stretch where he has been over the past 2 years about the QB 11, obviously he's going much cheaper than where we had that 5-year period. Okay. Now, Mike Gesicki, and also the big thing is just roster construction wise, we draft Rashee Rice and Worthy. If this team's going to turn $5 into $200,000, by taking Rice and Worthy, we kind of already made a bet earlier in the draft that Mahomes was going to get back to just being a high volume passer. So it makes sense to triple down in a draft where we're trying to correlate and have the highest possibility, the most probable outcome for us to turn $5 into $100,000 is we just hit on a singular offense going nuclear. Jalen McMillan versus Wan'Dale. I'm actually going to take Wan'Dale Robinson here. So now wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Rice, Metcalf, Worthy, Palmer, Wan'Dale. So 4 great receivers, 2 bums. Tight end, we have David Njoku, Dalton Kincaid. Running back, we have James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Cam Scatterbu, Isaac Garindo. Quarterback, we have Allen, double stacked with Kincaid and Joshua Palmer. And we have Mahomes, double stacked with Rice and Worthy. Okay. Let's move this back over. I actually like this name. The next draft we're going to get in, we're just going to keep ripping $5 puppy drafts. Like, clearly everybody here is obsessed with a puppy. I don't blame y'all. So we are going to keep on getting the puppy drafts going. And also, side note, my family did get a puppy, and this is my first time seeing it. Pretty damn cute. Pretty cute. Okay. Bryce says, do you think Underdog is going to come out with $3 and more $1 tournaments? So can y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but Underdog dropped the $1 tournament that had like over 100,000 teams drafted, and it filled in what, 1 day? 1.5 days? Something absolutely ridiculous. I can't even comprehend. Like, I would have never guessed that there were even that many people on Underdog. Like 100,000 teams drafted in almost a day, and was single tournament. Here's my thought process, and obviously I do not speak for Underdog. I have no freaking idea. I'm guessing, and I would, if you would have asked me last week, I'd have guessed they never did a $1 tournament. I would guess when the $5 puppy is available at the moment, they're probably not dropping a $3 draft at the same time. And if they did, it would probably be like a $3 draft with like a 3 entry max or something. I would imagine that we are rolling in the puppy drafts for the next couple weeks. Could be wrong, but. Okay, Mason Taylor goes 186. And we are still just running back, wide receiver, tight end. We're going to take 1 more running back, 1 more wide receiver, and 1 more tight end. Just get 1 more of each. Dylan Sampson goes 187. Dylan Sampson, in my opinion, definitely looks like a better pick now than he was. We'll take Zach Ertz. I'm not the biggest Zach Ertz guy, but we need a 3rd tight end. He falls 17 picks past ADP. Sure, I'll take him. Not going to go much more in depth than that. A decent spot to just balance out exposure. And then the running back that we won at 196, we probably end up getting anyway. Keenan Allen goes 192. Y'all probably know which running back I want. This team only has 4 RBs. They're Bijan, Chase Brown, Pacheco, and Dobbins. So I'd imagine they take one more. They go Schultz. Who are their 2 tight ends? Yeah, they definitely needed another tight end. They were rolling with Gesicki and Kate Otten. Justice Hill was actually the running back that we wanted. I like Justice Hill for a team like this just because we just need somebody who can score points immediately. I guess if we have Connor, Swift, Warren, we do have a decent amount of... We'll go with Brashad Smith. And then looking at our wide receivers and round 18, queue up some of the old reliables. Is there anybody else that would be appealing for this team? Okay. This guarantees us that we're at least getting one wide receiver. Most likely either Tolbert or Mari. But we'll queue up all the receivers just in case y'all snipe us there. And let me hop in another puppy draft. Like I said, I am maybe Underdog. Let's me do it on the computer. Let's just try to do it on the computer real quick. If it doesn't work, I'll do it on the phone. But again, the issue is on the laptop. For whatever reason, it blocks all sites from getting my location. Oh, we're in. Perfect. Okay, so we're in another puppy. And hopefully we get a pick at the end of the draft. Never mind. Okay, here's what we're going to try on this one. We are going to try going with a running back early. So rather than Jefferson, at pick 2 or 3 here, we're going to take Bijan or Barkley. And just see what the structure of the team looks like through 5 rounds after that. But what's maybe a little bit tougher in this instance is like at pick 3, when we're going to be on the clock at the 2-3 turn, like there's no Rashee Rice sitting there for us at pick 22, more likely than not. I guess we could go Tyreek. And looking at who's in this draft with us, I'm not really looking at the chat right now, but we got, I'll just tell you off the top of my head who we know is a member of the flock. Twinsky, in here at pick 1, I know is most likely in this stream. Kale Elliott, 100% fact he's in this stream. Desire Best, 100% fact he's in this stream. I'll pull up the chat in a second to see if there's anybody else in this draft with us. Let's see what Gooch Money does. Goes Gibbs. We will take Bijan and we'll see what this draft looks like because of it. Okay. Treyway is in at 11. Alan Black is in at 2. So we have members of the flock in at 1, 2, 10, 11, 12. Appreciate y'all drafting with us. And yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs goes off the board at pick 2. Again, I am never going to come through and tell somebody like good or bad pick really inside the top 6 selections. I think the top 6, you can change it up. You can go in really whatever direction you prefer. For me personally, I'm going to be drafting 500 underdog teams this year. So I just want to sit here and I want to have an average of about 8, 9, 10% on all these players inside the top 6. Whether it's Chase, Gibbs, Bijan, Barkley, Jefferson, Lamb, doesn't really matter to me. I've made my stance clear that I don't think I'm that much smarter than anybody else where I'm going to be able to tell you, oh, what... I found this under the radar stat about Saquon Barkley that nobody else has ever found. But I have insight on Jahmyr Gibbs that nobody's ever thought of. In reality, the top 6 players in fantasy football, everybody talks about, everybody thinks about, they all have the ceiling to be the number 1 overall player in any scoring format. So what edge am I going to be getting by flag planting and coming out with a hard take of oh, every time I'm after pick 1, I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, that's not my game. However, I am not the normal person. The normal person is going to hop on Underdog for like 5 to 10 drafts in a year. Then they're going to have their main redraft league, maybe 2 main redraft leagues. And if you're only going to get in like 5 Underdog drafts and you love Jahmyr Gibbs for whatever reason, maybe you're a Lions fan, maybe you just think Gibbs is going to crush this year and he's going to be the new generation Christian McCaffrey. Hell, go get your guy, right? If you're only going to do a couple of these drafts. Now, where my issue would be is if you're going and taking like Puka Nacua at pick 2. Like inside the top 6 players, I think it's a big tier. And it's just kind of up to you. Now, Drake London off at 18. Maybe we do get Rashee Rice at 22. Vlad McConkey goes 19. Bowers goes 20. Let's see what Jedi Masters does, because he went Barkley in round 1, so he also had a running back start just like us. My plan A here is going to be Rice. My plan B is going to be Jonathan Taylor. But we'll see what the team does ahead of us. Now, if we end up having to go plan B with Jonathan Taylor, we are going to be in a situation now where we are, no matter what, having to hit the wide receiver button in the 3rd round. Like where we start wide receiver in the last draft, and we can get cute with it and we can go ahead and we can take Josh Allen. Here, that's not really going to be an option for us. Here, we just kind of have to eat our vegetables. We just kind of have to have enough points at the wide receiver position. Again, I will reiterate that if you're going to be looking at like your regular redraft league where you have access to the waiver wire, you can make trades as the year goes on, then sure, you can just take your favorite player here. You can take Josh Jacobs. And I'll tell you right now, if this was the Flock League, I would not be taking JSN. I'd be taking Josh Jacobs. But the issue is, in a best ball draft, there's no waiver wire. There are no trades. I'm locked into this team. I can't really be making any adjustments. So if I just fall so far behind at a singular position that I'm not able to catch up, we are going to be screwed. So we'll reach on JSN based off where JSN typically goes at the end of the 3rd round. I think this will be maybe somewhat of a unique start. Now, definitely not the most unique, and definitely anybody could replicate this. But I prefer JSN over like Harrison and Garrett Wilson. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. What's hilarious is they're all Ohio State wide receivers. Like looking at the wide receivers that go in round 3, you have JSN, Terry McLaurin, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, all from Ohio State. Like round 3 is just the Ohio State names. I had, Garrett Wilson fallen a decent amount in this. Is Wilson gonna, I've never seen Garrett Wilson fall this far. Let's see where he ends up going. I think this is maybe the earliest I've seen Kittle go as well. What ends up happening? McBride. Oh my gosh. What? I know Corey from the Fantasy Stock Exchange has Kittle over McBride. I didn't even realize that McBride was still available. If Desire Best, if he just goes Garrett Wilson here, Desire Best was St. Brown, Tyreek, McBride, Garrett Wilson through the first 4 rounds. Congrats, my friend. That is ridiculous. Now, again, I'm not the biggest Garrett Wilson guy. I think he maybe was the highest ranked wide receiver according to ADP when we were on the board at 27. I haven't been taking a lot of him in the early round 3 range, but if he's a round 4 pick, sign me up. Yeah, Desire Best. Crazy team. James Cook goes 39. We're still playing catch-up at wide receiver, right? We go Bijan Taylor out the gate. Having JSN hold down the fort at receiver isn't the exact spot that you want to be in. So we are going to opt to really... I mean, I don't want to box us out of every other position. Like, y'all know I love me some Amari and Hampton. If it's like Hampton versus Jamison Williams, then maybe it twist my arm to go in the opposite direction. This team goes with an unstacked Jalen Hurts at 41 while only having Marvin Harrison at receiver. So I haven't been big on taking Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the fourth. I'm still overweight Jalen Hurts. Still been drafting a ton of them because y'all know I just take Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts all day at the 4-5 turn. But it looks like the Jalen Hurts ADP has been creeping up dramatically, where now you may end up having to take him at the beginning of the fourth. And if that's the case, I'll be fine adjusting. I'll take him some. But the situation where I take him, I probably want to be taking him when I took A.J. Brown in the first. I don't know if I want to be taking him as a standoff, unstacked quarterback in the beginning of the fourth. I'll do that at the beginning of the fifth. Y'all have seen me taking an unstacked Hurts at the beginning of the fifth many times. Just because you have the rushing touchdown equity. Plan A is Jameson. Plan B is Waddle. We're not going Pickens. Jameson goes. We're going to go Jalen Waddle. For me, I think Jalen Waddle's the better name between Jameson, George Pickens, and Waddle himself. Full transparency, the reason I would have gone with Jameson there in the fifth is just based off the ADP lineup of Jameson having an ADP of like, what was like 45, and then Tet having an ADP of 40. There'd be very little crossover with that group of players. So I would actually probably rather have Jalen Waddle straight up over Jameson Williams in fantasy this year. I would have done it for the uniqueness of the tournament, however, taking Jameson and also balance out our exposures a bit. But I'll be fine getting the player that we'd probably prefer in a vacuum anyway. So now running back, we have Bijan, Taylor. Wide receiver, we have JSN, Tet, and Waddle. Okay. Growth Squad says, I'd love to hear why you don't like Pickens. I mean, I can pull this back up on the site. Let's just go over this real quick. I mean, stupid simple. I know it's maybe not the favorite thing for everybody to hear, but wide receiver 38, wide receiver 35, wide receiver 45 over the past 3 years. Okay. Juwan Jennings off the board at 59. Rome goes 60. Mike says, what do you think about the Trey Harris situation? So y'all know, if you've been here for a while, that I am long the big Q. I am short Trey Harris. It will be something that we have to think about a little bit more. While Quentin Johnston is my most drafted player, he's also risen up a considerable amount from where drafts first opened up in late April. And on the flip side of that, I'm very underweight Trey Harris, but he is now falling off of a potential contract holdout where I don't think it's a serious issue. So here's my hope. My hope is Quentin Johnston rises 5 rounds in ADP. Trey Harris falls 5 rounds. Then I can just flip who I'm taking, balance out my exposures, and call it a day with the closing line ADP value and say that we're winning it regardless. But we'll see where it ends up. Again, I don't think it's something to really be concerned about with Trey Harris, but my prior on Trey Harris is I don't have a lot of him. I think he was, in general, maybe a little bit overvalued. And if this is what brings him down, so be it. I'm going to take Chris Olave. Is it the team at 1 that, yeah, the team at 1 has both Chase as well as Higgins. So we're going to assume that they get the Burrow slide to pick 72. The team ahead of him doesn't even have Chase Brown, so I'd be surprised if that team went Burrow. They go Godwin, who is the other wide receiver in play for us alongside Chris Olave. For looking at our options at 75, I don't want to give you all plan A, plan B. Plan A just went with Ricky Pearsall. I think we can go Caleb as our third running back. Judkins is no longer in play. The kind of players we're going to be looking at later on, the running backs aren't nearly as appealing, with somebody like Jordan Mason really being the only other running back that you can get. Jordan Mason, Jalen Warren. I'd rather take Caleb Johnson as our third running back here, especially as we know that There's maybe a little less certainty at the running back position now than there previously was. Pollard goes 77. So you may see some of these other running backs like Brian Robinson and the crew get steamed up boards if Judkins is falling. Okay. Let me see if... So far we have Bijan Taylor and Caleb Johnson at running back. Wide receiver, we have JSN, Tet McMillan, Waddle, and Olave. So very different than the team that we had drafted before this. I'll be excited to see where it ends up. Our quarterback options are kind of booty. I mean, we have Darnold, Bryce Young, and Tua. No part of me ever wants to take Olave. So maybe you can make the argument that we should have just gone with a wide receiver in round 7 as well, that their quarterback would have been exciting for us later, such as Golden, Diggs, or Jaden Reed. Because a tough thing is sitting at pick 94, looking at the wide receivers that will be available there. It'll be some of these receivers that their quarterback options don't really play for us, like Michael Pittman Jr. and Cooper Kupp. Like Pittman, we wouldn't know who to take at quarterback. Cooper Kupp, again, we already have Darnold open because we have JSN, but I'm not excited to take Darnold. Igbuka goes 85 to desire best. I would have been excited if Igbuka would have made it to us at 94, because that would have opened up the Igbuka-Baker combo. But in reality, actually looking at it, the team at 95 has Godwin anyway, so we wouldn't have been able to complete that. Mahomes falling, we could always go with an unstacked Mahomes at 94. Pair him up with Kelsey on the way back around in the 9th rounds. And then if we whiff on Kelsey, we could go with Hollywood later. And if not, I'm pretty sure like one of the underdog tournaments I won either for 100K or 20K wasn't an unstacked Mahomes. I took Mahomes and then took like a wide receiver that ended up being completely irrelevant. And I got no usable weeks out of, but I pretty much won a tournament with an unstacked Mahomes now. The Puppy 2, different beast, way larger prize pool. So not super excited about taking those unstacked quarterbacks, of course. So Brian Robinson does indeed go at 91. Darnell Mooney goes 92. Bo Nix goes, we will take Kupp. I know Kupp's been a big-time follower. Nobody likes him. Not going to blame you at all for not liking him, but we still need wide receiver points. We take JSN. We already made a bet on this Seattle Seahawks offense maybe being a little bit better than expectation. And then looking at quarterback, Baker does nothing for us here. Kyler does nothing for us here. I guess we could go with an unstacked field, just knowing you're not really betting on the passing volume. You're betting on the rushing, which is something I typically don't do. But looking at how bleak our quarterback options are in general, we may end up having to go with like an unstacked rushing QB with either Kyler or Fields. Kyler, we could go with Michael Wilson later. Fields, we could go like Mason Taylor. So Warren, Travis Etienne, like in my mind, Jalen Warren's not doing much when we have Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Caleb Johnson. Kyler almost 600 rushing yards last year, even healthier this year. I think we could get just spike weeks off the back of what he can do as a rusher. Obviously not ideal taking Kyler here when we don't have McBride, when we don't have Marvin Harrison. You can maybe make an argument that if you're taking an unsacked quarterback in this range, Fields is going to be more of the pure rushing play than Kyler Murray would be, where Kyler Murray, the rushing is kind of an add-on, where Fields, it's the entire thing. So I'm not confident at all acting like this Kyler Murray's pick is good. I don't know if it's bad. It seems okay just considering the opportunity cost that we have is like, what, we really pass on Jalen Warren as our 4th running back? At this point, we just really need some quarterback points. We could even go with like Tua and Bryce, or Darnold and Bryce, or Darnold and Tua later, and say like, oh, what if Kyler's points are what advances us weeks 1 through 14, and then just 2 weeks in 15 and 17, we get a nuclear Tua performance, and then week 16, we get the big-time Bryce performance. So we can play the what-if game. We could also go Michael Wilson. So we'll figure it out. Okay. Gross Squad says, I prefer Kyler for sure. Yeah, so in my mind, I just think Kyler's a much better play than Fields. Again, I think Kyler's 10,000 times a better play when you actually have Marvin Harrison or when you have Trey McBride, which we don't have either here. But I think we can make it work regardless. The one-eyed Najee, the Pirate, goes at pick 108. CH says, do you ever try to stack Michael Penix with Bijan? It's not my number one priority, right? Like, if I have Bijan and I have no quarterback options, I think Penix will be in play for us, especially because we can go with Kyle Pitts as well. And Bijan will have some involvement as a receiver. Okay. Let's move this over. Evan Ingram goes 110. Charbonnet off at 111. I'm looking at quarterbacks that are going to make it back to us. Caleb, we could go with, and we could take Luther Burden after. We could go Caleb and take Loveland after. We have a couple different options there. Dak Prescott, we don't really have anything. Drake May, we don't really have anything. Jared Goff, we don't really have anything. So now that Caleb's off, we're more likely than not going to be passing on quarterback in round 10. Round 11, we could potentially open the door for us to take one of these quarterbacks and then just target a pass catcher later on. McCarthy off the board at 116. Let's see what Jedi Masters does. Goes Tyler Warren. Y'all know Tyler Warren is my preferred click. I think I may take David Njoku as our first tight end. You can make an argument that we still very much need some wide receiver production. I'm trying to think if there's like Bateman, Burden, they don't really do anything for us, though, in terms of opening the door for quarterbacks late. I know David Njoku doesn't either. So because none of them really give us that quarterback optionality, I'm just going to take who I prefer in this range, and I just think David Njoku is probably the best click. Okay, Bateman goes 119. I think we're underweight both Bateman, and I know we're definitely underweight Luther Burden. We mentioned that in our video we made about those options. We could go Herbert and then go with Quentin Johnston later. The issue is I'm drafting with y'all on the live stream, so you're probably not going to let me do that. So we'll take the boring pick. We'll take Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk's like the perfect example of somebody that I would never take in a regular redraft league. Like, say in the Flock League as an example. Christian Kirk is a receiver with an extremely capped ceiling that is never really going to turn out to be a league winner. And in your regular redraft league, you can always kind of find a player of that ilk on the waiver wire. You can always go out there and you can always pick up a wide receiver that's going to project out to score 9, 10, 11 points in any given week. Now, the thing is, specifically in best ball, wide receiver and running back, I mean, really every single position is going to be a little bit different because you don't have access to the waiver wire and you can't cycle through those replacement level options that randomly pop up during the season. Just getting a wide receiver that you're pretty confident is going to run a lot of routes is decent in a way in which you have a baseline floor at the wide receiver position. And looking at our wide receiver group at the moment, we're still extremely weak. I mean, running back, we have Bijan, Taylor, Caleb Johnson. I'm pretty confident there. Wide receiver, we have JSN, Tet McMillan, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk. So we've caught back up. Quarterback, we have an unstocked Kyler. We have David Njoku at tight ends. Really, another big reason we take Kirk here is just his quarterback was still available. With CJ Stroud, sometimes you will get CJ Stroud falling to the late 12th. So I thought, oh, okay, we go with Christian Kirk. If we can get past the Nico Collins team, then maybe we get a shot to get Stroud on the way back. But clearly that doesn't happen. If we could go in a time machine, maybe we roll the dice with Justin Herbert and we get Quentin Johnston at 142. And full transparency, if I wasn't on the live stream and I was just in some random draft where it's like, not like the people I'm drafting with know that I just talk about Quentin Johnston nonstop. I probably would have done it because I think it would have been more likely. I just think drafting with y'all, the probability that I get the big Q there at 142 is not super high. Okay. Now, looking at our quarterback options, We may end up having to do the Michael Penix, Bijan, Kyle Pitts thing. We may not have another choice. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we don't even get that optionality. Michael Penix here goes ahead of ADP to the team with Drake London. Kincaid goes 139. We would have got, no, never mind. We wouldn't have gotten Quentin Johnson, goes at 140. If Quentin Johnson would have made it to us at 142, I would have felt bad about passing on Herbert, but I kind of figured that was going to end up happening. Jedi Masters on the clock. It's hard to figure out what this team's going to do. They go Rashad White. We'll go Trey Benson, and we'll play the game what if Kyler checks the ball down to Benson. We see a spike week that way. It ain't happening, I'll tell you that much. And then on the way back out, the play is probably going to be pretty simple in that we probably just need to take Tua and pair up Tua with Waddle. We need quarterback points. Kyler Murray's our only quarterback so far. Yeah, so let's go with Tua as our second quarterback. Let's revisit this draft because I'm not in love with this draft, but I kind of want to figure out what we could have done differently. So round 1, Bijan, round 2, Taylor. Hard for me to be super regretful about either one of those picks. Maybe at the beginning of round 3, we should understand, hey, by this point, we haven't put ourselves in a position. We know we're not going to be able to take an elite quarterback, right? Like we can confidently say, you go running back in the first 2 rounds. I'm not going to be able to take Josh Allen. I'm not going to get Lamar. I'm not going to get Daniels. I'm not going to get Hurts. So as soon as you go running back, you're on quarterback watch. That's probably going to be one of the bigger issues in your draft because no matter what, you're going to have to play catch up at receiver through the middle rounds. So when we're playing catch up with wide receivers through the middle rounds, maybe there's a thing in which we just have to be aware and we have to be on top of our quarterback options when we take these receivers. So JSN, we know we don't really want to take Darnold. Tet, we know we don't really want to take Bryce Young. Waddle, we don't really want to take Tua. Chris Olave, there's no world in which I want to take Tyler Shuck. Cooper Kupp, we didn't really have an option. It was Kupp or Keon, and his quarterback was long gone. So I think the issue that we made here is we took too many wide receivers with garbage quarterbacks. Where if we were to go back in a time machine, maybe instead of taking JSN, mix in Marvin Harrison. It's not the end of the world. You don't need to take JSN every single time in that group of receivers. Instead of taking Tet McMillan, go DJ Moore. Even if you don't love DJ Moore this year, who freaking cares? It sets you up with Caleb. Waddle, I don't think we have any regrets at all about this pick. Olave, maybe we should just take Godwin and set ourselves up with Baker. Now, we wouldn't have gotten Baker. Actually, we would have got Baker. We could have got Baker at 94. So I think that's probably our issue as we look at this, is not that we navigated the last 5 or 6 rounds poorly. To be honest with you, I think we've actually done a good job predicting the board and taking advantage of the last 5 rounds. I think we just did a poor job earlier in the draft with the wide receiver selections we made rounds 3 through 7, 3 through 6, whenever it was, of giving us a multitude of options when it came to the quarterback position later on. Okay, Adam Thielen goes. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Do I love going through and reaching 10 picks to complete a stack? Not at all. But at the same time, am I that excited about Tank Bigsby, Pat Bryant, Jalen McMillan, Roshan, or Demario Douglas? Not at all. Now, there's a second level to this that I can talk about in just one second. But let's get by the first level first. So we are going to go down. We're going to reach 10 picks. We're just going to take Darnold. Darnold completes a double stack for us where we have the combo of JSN and Cooper Kupp, right? So really the only way this team has any shot to turn $5 into 100K is if the Seattle passing offense is a lot better than people were expecting. So the other reason I was completely fine reaching on Darnold here is in round 15, we put ourselves in a position where we're going to have to reach on Michael Wilson ahead of Demario Douglas and Wan'Dale Robinson. So if you looked at the way that the ADP was set up here, you have both Darnold and Michael Wilson kind of as round 15 players. Like, say, guys that go at the end of round 15, the beginning of round 16. There's no world in which I'm getting either one of these players that pick 190. Not in this live stream, not drafting with y'all. So if I know I'm not getting either one of these guys that pick 190, what that means is I probably got to reach a little bit on both of them. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We get Michael Wilson, pair up with Kyler. Now I think the team's maybe a little bit better. We have Kyler at quarterback, quote unquote double stacked. Really, Trey Benson doesn't matter here, but we have Kyler with Trey Benson and Michael Wilson. We have Tua with Waddle. We have Darnold with JSN and Cooper Kupp. Running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Caleb Johnson, Trey Benson. Wide receiver, we have JSN, Tet McMillan, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk, and Michael Wilson. So, is it the best team we've ever drafted? No, not even remotely close. Is it the worst team we've ever drafted? No, not even remotely close. Okay, and we will, of course, get in another draft after this one as well. And Dowdle goes, Darius Slayton off the board, 181. Let's move this back. So just looking at this, we're going to be done at quarterback, of course. A running back, we're going to take one more option. Tight end, we need two more players. So I guess we're done with the group of 7 receivers that we have, which at the top, it's very weak, but having like Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 5, Olave, wide receiver 4, Kirk, wide receiver 6. Like the depth of the wide receiver position's good. The very top of it's very weak. Like the exact opposite of what you would want in your regular redraft league, but something I think we can get away with and we can be okay with here. Darren Waller goes 186. I probably would have taken him to pair him up with Tua. Waller's a little less exciting for me in the Puppy 2 tournament. However, just because if you're looking at drafting him in like Best Ball Mania, there'll be like 30% of the tournament that's drafted without Darren Waller as a viable player, so he's going to be lower owned. But this tournament opened up after Darren Waller signed with Miami, so he's going to get drafted in every single draft here. And we'll take Nick Chubb as our 5th RB. And then we just need 2 tight ends to pair up with David Njoku. Dalton Schultz off 191. We have pass catchers for both Carolina and New Orleans for Jatavion and Juwan Johnson. So we're going to take one tight end. We're then going to queue up the rest of the tight ends, and we will move on to our next puppy draft. Twinski goes Jatavion. This team's not taking the tight ends. They are done. We're going to take Juwan Johnson, pair him up with Olave, and then we'll queue up tight ends. Y'all know I like Terrence Ferguson in this range. I'll take Theo Johnson over Pat Frymuth. Take Elijah Arroyo as our 3rd name. Then I guess we can mix in the other guys just to make sure we get somebody. Okay. But let's go ahead and let's get in another draft. Hopefully we get a pick at the end. Give me a pick at the end, please. Okay. Where are we at? Where are we at? Okay. Underdog just gives me the double bird. They just say, F you, Mason. You're going to pick at 4. You're going to like it. Not only are you going to pick at 4, but at the same time, you are going to have to draft right next to Kale. Kale's going to be at 5. Also, we have Draco in this draft with us at 11. We have Buttnut in this draft with us at 10. And let me know if anybody else from this chat is in. Maxwell Mazer in at 7. Cameron Peterson in at 6. So Joe says he's 1%. Judkins will be grabbing him at a better price. Where did Judkins go in the last draft? Crap, I didn't even notice. Can somebody let me know, where did Judkins go in the last one? I need to figure out what the new price is for Judkins. Chase, Jefferson both go. I'm probably going to take a running back here. Lamb off. We'll take Bijan. Barkley's going to make it down to Kale. At least I'd assume Kale goes Barkley. Kale goes Gibbs. Barkley making it down to Cam Patterson at 6. We'll be super excited to see what he walks away with after Barkley. Okay, no big surprises outside of that. I definitely like Barkley. This is what I asked y'all. I asked y'all, like, is there something going on? Like, is there somebody just throwing dirt on Barkley's name saying that you cannot draft him? Okay, Desire Best is pick 81 in the last draft. He goes around pick 85. Okay, good to know. Again, like I said, I'm not taking him at the 6-7 turn. But if you were to make it back to us to the 8-9 turn, I'm probably going to take him there. Okay, I see people now arguing Bijan over Barkley or vice versa. Again, my take is I think both have their... Okay, so let me go back to this. I've gone back and forth all offseason now, and y'all probably watched me making arguments for Bijan and Barkley. I thought I was going to go out there early in the offseason and make a big stance. This is when Barkley had an ADP at pick 2, Bijan had a pick at pick 4. And I danced around with the idea of making a big stance, at least at the time, of Bijan over Barkley. And to fade Barkley with where he was going. The reason I didn't is it is scary at the end of the day to fade arguably the best running back prospect of all time that got stuck on one of the worst franchises in the NFL. And the second he got to one of the best franchises in the NFL, he was a league-winning player. So I would be terrified to fade Barkley. I understand the age. I understand the workload. I understand all those concerns. I know he had the big plays. I know those may regress. But still, he also got tackled at the 1-yard line a lot. Maybe he punches those rushes in this next year. So for me, I'm going to have about an equal amount of Bijan and Barkley. And if you were to like fade Barkley to an extreme degree, I would be terrified of doing so. Like, I didn't go super heavy on drafting Barkley last year, but I didn't fade Barkley to an extreme degree because it would be terrifying to do so. Okay. Marvin Harrison goes 26. So no matter what, here's the thought process. We go Bijan and Bowers. We need to be looking at wide receivers, and we need to be looking at receivers that we'd be excited for their quarterback options later. So I hate taking Garrett Wilson here. I really do. I'm not. I'm not taking Garrett Wilson. I'll take Devontae Adams instead. Am I excited to take Devontae Adams as quarterback later with Stafford? No. Maybe a little bit more excited than taking him than Darnold. Thing is, I'm not that excited to take Justin Fields with where he goes either. So we'll take Devontae Adams in the 3rd. It would have been super exciting to get T. Higgins because then we would have been in a nice little spot to grab Burrow. But no matter what, we need to go wide receiver. And again, as we go through the next few rounds, we need to be considering the quarterback options of the receivers that we will be taking. Now, it may be as a bonus that we go Bowers in this draft in round 2 as opposed to a running back like we did in the previous one. Because there in that instance, we have the optionality for Geno. And Geno's a little more exciting than what we would have been looking at otherwise. Growth Squad says, Mason, any argument to take Higgins and Steinborough? I mean, if Higgins would have made it at pick 28, he would have been the play. For sure. Kyle says, hopefully Daniels doesn't make it back to you. There's a 0% chance Jaden Daniels makes it back to us. I'll very happily take Terry McLaurin at the end of the third round, understanding that we are going to get Daniels at the beginning of the fourth. Like, y'all have seen me do that in a $500 draft before, but I'm never taking Terry McLaurin at the beginning of the third because I know I'm never going to get Daniels at the end of the fourth, and I don't like Terry compared to these other receivers. Worthy goes 42, so let's consider wide receivers that we would like their quarterback options. Would I be excited about Aaron Rodgers? No. Would I be excited about Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts? Hell yes. Y'all know I love that. My favorite thing to do at the 4 or 5 turn is to go Devonta Smith and then Jalen Hurts. However, we took Bijan and Bowers in the first 2 rounds. When you go with an elite tight end, especially with going with the running back in round 1, we simply cannot afford, from a roster construction perspective, to go with Jalen Hurts at the 4 or 5 turn. I would love to, but we'd fall way too far behind at wide receiver. So if we did not have Bowers here, or at least if we would have mixed in one receiver in round 1 or round 2, there I would have taken Devonta Smith over DJ Moore, and I would have set ourselves up to get Jalen Hurts in the 5th, because that would have been my favorite combo. Now again, issue with that is I can't afford Jalen Hurts here. So I already have a crazy amount of Devonta Smith. I've drafted way more Smith than I have DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to give us the optionality if you're Caleb in a range where we feel comfortable. So I think DJ Moore fits this team better. And that team right before us is going to get the very exciting Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith pairing. I'm going to take George Pickens. Our other guy that we would have preferred with Waddle is already off the board. And Pickens does open the door for us to get an interesting quarterback in Dak Prescott. Now, one other thing that's very important to point out here with that Dak pick is the team at 3 is the team with CD Lamb, and we're at pick 4. So usually Dak Prescott's going to be coming back in, I think at like pick 117, I believe. So he's going to be coming this way, and we are boxing out the team with CD Lamb. So the George Pickens pick at 52, even though I don't typically take a lot of George Pickens of the 4 or 5 turn, for this team, I think does make a ton of sense. Okay. People arguing about the Madden curse with Saquon in the chat. I'll be on record that the Madden curse is something I'm not too worried about. Generally, if you just think of running backs in the Madden curse, I think it more so has to do with the fact that running backs are extremely volatile from a year-to-year perspective with their injuries. And they typically get on the cover of Madden when they have a massive season with a ton of volume. And they are volatile year-to-year with those injuries, so it shouldn't be that big of a surprise if they do then fall down the following season. Okay, Caleb Johnson goes at pick 60. Debo goes 61 to the Daniels team. Something that was more common earlier this offseason. Move this around. James Conner off. So Joe Burrow's not really going to be in play for us here. And I think we have a well-balanced team at this point. I think we've done an okay job catching up at receiver. We have Adams, DJ Moore, George Pickens at wide receiver. We have Bijan Robinson at running back, and we have Brock Bowers at tight ends. RJ Harvey off at 66. Tre'Von Henderson goes 67. Kale has 3 running backs. I didn't notice that. Kale, very interesting build. He takes Rome. I would have been very excited to get Rome as well as Caleb double stack, so we could have really just targeted Caleb later. Rome and DJ Moore, that is. We're going to take Chris Olave at 69. Ooh, what's super interesting is the team right after us that got the Devonta Smith Jalen Hurts pairing that we love just took Joe Burrow as their second quarterback at pick 70. So y'all know, going back to what we were talking about previously, where we have the leg up on this CeeDee Lamb team for Dak Prescott. Now we can possibly push Dak down the board a bit because the CeeDee Lamb team is now out of the market for a quarterback. Like, you go Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow in the same squad, which I've actually done in a few drafts with the similar setup to that team, which I really like. Who knows if it works out or not. But what it does for certainty is it makes it where you can no longer take another quarterback, right? And we'll go Jerry Jeudy. I think very few teams are going to get this combo of like Chris Olave and Jeudy. In round 6 and 7, I'm not a massive fan of them. In general, the quarterback play is just absolute garbage. If you look at the historical math for where wide receivers typically finish in half PPR formats with garbage quarterback play and bottom 5 offenses, it's horrible. But getting this type of ADP value in a draft where we go running back, tight end out the gate and we're having to play catch up at wide receiver, it is really nice. Now, again, an issue that we're going to have is the quarterback options in New Orleans and Cleveland are non-existent. I'm not going to take a single Cleveland Brown quarterback in any best ball draft ever. Tyler Shuck is maybe a little more acceptable, but not much more. And Montgomery makes it down to pick 82 here. So this is an interesting team. I like this team a lot, assuming that we get our quarterbacks later, which I think we put ourselves in a decent position to have a couple different options at QB. Michael Pittman Jr. goes 84. We're not stressing at all seeing wide receivers go off. Like, if we have Jerry Jeudy as our wide receiver 5, I think we're fine at wide receiver, to be honest. Bo Nix goes to pick 85. It's not like we were the Sutton team, so we're completely fine seeing that. And very interesting to see that Bo Nix selection at 85, knowing that in a lot of drafts, Bo Nix makes it down to you at like 108. I guess the Sutton team that's on the other side of the board does not have a quarterback. Maybe that was their concern. Judkins off the board at pick 86, if you're interested in where he ends up going. Egbuka goes 87. Ooh, I didn't even notice Michael Pittman Jr. goes ahead of Josh Downs in this one. So looking at quarterback options that are coming back around, Baker's not going to be in play. Kyler will not be in play either. If we would have gone Ayuk at 93, we could have set ourselves up with Purdy in the following rounds. Josh Downs goes 91. You'd assume Kale goes with the receiver. He's only sitting with Rashee Rice and Rome Odunze, but I may be wrong. He does go with the wide receiver in Cooper Kupp. I will take Jordan Mason here. I know some people are speculating that Jordan Mason's going to have the goal line role in Minnesota. Some people are saying that he's just a premium handcuff. Am I the biggest Jordan Mason guy in the world? No, but I don't really feel like we can take TJ Hawkinson with Bowers. Jalen Warren, Travis Etienne have a good shot to make it to us at pick 100, where Jordan Mason does not. And Baker and Kyler are not in play for us either. So, process of elimination there, I think, lands us on Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's a funny player. I think I've said this in another live stream. Y'all know, like, when you go into your completed drafts on Underdog, you can sort by, like, percentage of drafts that you've taken the player in. And, like, entry fees, like the dollars you spent on that player in drafts. And I guess I have taken Jordan Mason in the $500 drafts, but I've not taken him very often overall. I think we go with Keon. I'm sorry, Kale. Kale for sure wants Keon, right? Kale only has 3 receivers with Rice, Rome, Kupp, and he has Josh Allen. But I just simply don't know if I can go anywhere else, Kale. So I'm sorry, but Keon Coleman, I think, is the pick for us. And Keon Coleman is our wide receiver 6. Like, we're chilling at wide receiver. But anyway, going back to Jordan Mason, like, I've drafted Jordan Mason in a very low percentage of drafts. The issue is the drafts that I have taken him in, I've taken him in a couple $500 ones. So if you sort by, like, entry fees, He's one of my most invested into running backs. Where the reality of the situation is I'm not that confident in it. So we have a run on quarterbacks right after. We have Baker, Caleb. Let's do an unstacked Caleb team as well. No Bears pass catchers. Tracy goes 106. Jared Goff off 107. What was the ADP for Caleb? Why is he going unstacked there? ADP 109. Maybe we should have just taken Caleb. Tyler Warren off. Y'all know I love me some Tyler Warren. McCarthy goes 110. See where Butnut goes. You'd assume they go receiver. They only have 4 wide receivers. They go Bateman. Where's the Lamar team? Okay, the Lamar team's already picked, so there's a chance Andrews makes it to us. Scatterbu goes. Luther Burden off 115. Assuming Kale goes Trey Harris, but I could be wrong. He goes Christian Kirk. Okay. Here's the thing. The Lamb team already has Hurts and Burrow. They're not taking a quarterback. The 2 teams after have no Dallas Cowboys. All that would tell you, there's an okay shot that we get Dak Prescott on the way back around in the 11th. We could try to get something very unique by going Andrews or Trey Harris here instead. But because Dak is the only quarterback that we have at this point to pair up with George, we pair him up with Pickens, the only quarterback left that's exciting, I think I'm just going to go ahead and take him. I'm not going to stress about it. I think that there's a chance that we would get him on the way back around, but there's also a chance that the team at 122 with only Drake May is saying, hey, Dak Prescott has an ADP 111. I'm just going to take him unstacked. I will take Trey Harris. I said this previously, but y'all know I'm very much underweight Trey Harris, very much overweight Quentin Johnston. That was a very easy call to make if you look at where their ADPs lined up about a month or 2 ago. But now, if you have a massive Trey Harris fall and Quentin Johnston has slowly but surely gotten more expensive, I will balance out my exposures. I'm not married to one player. I am not married to any given price. And I don't think this concern with Trey Harris is a real concern. I think he's probably just going to sign his contract. So we'll take him in the 11th. And we'll balance out our exposures a decent bit. Now, wide receiver 1, Adams. Wide receiver 2, DJ Moore. Wide receiver 3, Pickens. Wide receiver 4, Olave. Wide receiver 5, Jerry Jeudy. Wide receiver 6, Keon Coleman. Wide receiver 7, Trey Harris. So despite not taking our first receiver until the 3rd round, I probably am not going to take another receiver in this draft. It's going to be a team where I take 3 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, 7 receivers, and may grab I may take 6 running backs. I know our running back 1's Bijan. Our running back 2 is Jordan Mason. Our running back 3, we're not getting until round 12. We'll figure it out together. And you have a big fall with Stroud. Rashad White goes. Does Kale go with Kincaid to pair up with Allen? He goes Kyle Williams. I probably want a tight end here. I think the tight end I probably prefer is Goddard. We can go Ferg. It probably makes sense to go Ferg if we have. Let me just make sure the buys don't line up. Yeah. We're going to go Ferguson, pair him up with Dak, and then we'll call it a day at tight ends. I'd assume the team right after us that has Jalen Hurts goes Dallas Goedert. They do. And we are just quarterback and running back, I want to say, through the rest of this draft. We need 2 more QBs. Looking at our quarterback options, Stafford's in play. That's about it. Gino's in play. Again, we're going to take 6 running backs total with this team. Tillman goes. The Puka team only has 1 quarterback. So the reality of the situation is if we want Stafford to pair up with Adams, we got to take him here. So we are going to do just that. We will take Matthew Stafford as our second quarterback off the board. And we'll pair him up with Davante Adams. So now quarterback, we have Dak double stacked with Pickens and Ferguson. We have Stafford stacked up with Davante Adams. Tight end, we have Brock Bowers, Jake Ferguson. Running back, we have Bijan, Jordan Mason. Wide receiver, we have Adams, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Chris Olave, Jerry Jeudy, Keon Coleman, Trey Harris. And then we are just going to be slamming running backs at the very end of this. Again, I know typically you go with your running back in round 1. You're not drafting 6 total. But considering that we are going to have Bijan and the dumpster options, I think we kind of have to. And interesting to see that team at 12 decided to go Daniel Jones there at 156. Geno Smith goes 159. I would have been excited to pair Geno up with Bowers. Let's move this over. You only see wide receiver and tight end options available, which sucks for us considering the fact that we can't really take those names. Sam Darnold goes 163. Joshua Palmer off the board. We'll just take Roshan as our third running back. And yeah, we just got boxed way the hell out. Not ideal, ladies and gentlemen. If you're seeing like this kind of price point, like if every starting quarterback goes before like round 15, it goes right back to like, I probably just want to start taking Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the 3rd round every single time. Dowdle off 166. Hunter Henry goes 167. Okay, take some more of these freaking tight ends. Ooh. Pat Bryant goes 169. I think I have an idea of what we're going to do here at 172. See if we can. Okay, we're going to be able to. This team is not taking a 3rd quarterback. We're going to go with an unstacked Rodgers, and we are just going to get a quarterback in here to help us advance. Like when we have an unstacked Rodgers here who has absolutely no rushing upside whatsoever, you can never even try to convince yourself that he does. The play is, I don't know, maybe we use spike weeks in weeks 15 through 17 from Dak and Stafford. And then Rodgers is just a quarterback that gives us a higher median projection for the first 14, where we sacrifice the 15th round pick just so we can actually get to the fantasy football playoff tournament. Now, the ideal scenario would have been that Geno Smith made it to us at 165 to pair up with Bowers, but sadly, I was not good enough to make that happen. Kyle Pitts makes it all the way down to 175. Wandale goes 177. D. Pratt says, I would have taken Caleb over Keon. I think you're right. We should have taken Caleb Johnson there. I'm sorry, Caleb Williams. Alec Pierce goes, thank God we have the wide receivers and tight ends going. We got on the clock there at 165 and just best 15 players available according to ADP were just positions we couldn't even take anymore. K-Dot and Chig both go. We are just taking 3 running backs to round this out. I mean, our running back room right now is Bijan, Jordan Mason, Roshan Johnson. We need as much depth as we can possibly get. I actually like this team. I'm not going to lie to you. I know it's weird, but I I like it. It's a weird construction that I think can work. It's hard to make an elite tight end build work this year. At least it feels like it. So I haven't taken... Actually, never mind. I was going to talk about Will Shipley. We can go Miles Sanders. I actually have taken a decent amount of Sanders. And we're obviously built around this Dallas offense. And maybe... Actually, I don't want to say anything because the running back that we want next is live to make it back to us. Schultz goes 191. Good for us. Good for us. But it does look like now those teams at 1702 and 1703, they're not going to be able to take tight ends. They both already have 3. This team with May and Stroud, you'd assume that they want a third quarterback, but even Richardson's gone. So they'd have to take like Tyler Shuck if they wanted that third. Darren Waller goes. Dylan Sampson was the player that we were actually going to look to grab here. We'll take Giddens, and then we'll just queue up some of the usual. I guess we could have taken Jerome Ford as well. But yeah, I think we probably should be taking Dylan Sampson at this point over Miles. I don't want to say over Miles Sanders. But I think Dylan Sampson round 17 is a great pick at this point. But we will probably call it a day here, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. So I fly back to Texas very, very soon. I'm sorry, I'm queuing up some guys. I will be flying back to Texas. Actually, I'd rather have Mostert. And I guess Keith Mitchell. We'll just make sure that we get a running back. I'll be flying back when? Let me see if I can clean this for y'all. How's that? Even worse. Perfect. I'll be flying back Tuesday morning, like super early. I got to wake up at like 4 a.m. to go, which is going to be tough. But one thing that's nice is I'm going to end this live stream, and then I'm in like my little sister's playroom where my brother's at home for college, set up his PlayStation. I don't have like a PlayStation or anything like that where I live, and he has NCAA. So you better believe I've already made myself a coach. You already believe I'm knee deep into recruiting. It's my first time playing the new NCAA games. And I will say, if y'all haven't gotten it before, this is my first time playing like a Madden or an NCAA or anything like that in like a decade. Like that's maybe an exaggeration, but like the last time I played like a lot of Madden, maybe it was like Madden 2011 or something like that. And I'd seen like clips on Twitter, seen clips of things, and it didn't really look that different than like the old ones. But the new NCAA game, like, it feels a lot closer to like real football. Like the way you get tackled, the way players move. It's like this is actually, I would always say like, oh, the games are all the same. They've always been. But it actually feels a lot better, like a lot more like real football. So I'm excited to play. And I appreciate y'all. And of course, I really hope I get to see y'all out with the live stream tomorrow night or Tuesday night. Try to stream both nights, but at the very minimum, I can guarantee Tuesday.